for the Mob Museum in Las Vegas. I wondered if he was familiar with La Palazza.
I'd never heard of this particular house either.
This is fun for Jeff. It's what he does. Try and figure out if organized crime happened where no one thinks to look. I asked Jeff what he thought about the secret room. If the notion of a secret room, a kill room in an old Vegas home, was consistent with how a mobster might design his property.
Well, I'm really skeptical about that. I was able to look on the Clark County Assessor's page, and substantial parts of that home were added on quite a long time since the mob pretty much was driven out of Las Vegas.
I looked into it and discovered that there actually have been multiple additions put on that house. The biggest one happened about 20 years ago, so I called up the guy who owned it back then.
Yeah, my name is Jeff, and I remodeled the La Palazza mansion in '98.
Okay, so tell me about that secret room. Did you know about it?
Yeah, I built it. It was a rock wall, and when you moved the towel hanger to the side, the wall would open up. So it was completely hidden.
This was the room on Ghost Adventures that Chris said he discovered, as though it had been hidden for 50 years. He said it was caked in blood and that there were guns beneath the floorboards. Why did you build a secret room?
Well, I built it to grow marijuana.
Marijuana. Jeff built the secret room to grow pot, which wasn't legal to grow at the time. There were no windows in the room because, for pot to grow, it needs to be kept in darkness for 12 hours a day, something that sunny Nevada can't offer. Plus, Jeff told me, it's not good for the plants to be too close to heat. Nevada is hot. Without windows, he could control the temperature in the room. The sink wasn't there so mobsters in the 60s and 70s could wash blood off their hands. It was put in there in 1998, so Jeff could water his plants. And the room was a secret because he was breaking the law.
Yeah, I was concerned about being robbed. I was just trying to make the house as secure as we could.
Jeff didn't want anyone to know there was a room there, so he put a hidden door there. I found an indictment against Jeff by a U.S. District Court. He was charged with conspiring to manufacture pot, so yeah, I believe him that that's what the room was for. Not surprisingly, Jeff's seen the episode of Ghost Adventures about his old house.
Yeah, somebody said in the video they found blood in the drain, right?
Yeah.
That was all fake. They made that up.
Which makes a lot of sense. If there had been blood, why didn't Chris call the cops? And does decades-old blood even look like blood?
Okay, so is there any chance that there were 22 revolvers in the floorboard?
No.
So at this point, I'm wondering, no mob kill rooms, no dumped bodies. How did this story even get attached to the house?
Take it somewhere else.
It was a guy named Nico
Don't make me
Santucci.
report you.
He sold the house to Chris, and not only that, Nico put Chris in touch with the
Go
show.
on. Stop
Chris then
messing
signed a
around.
release saying that it was okay for the show to shoot on the property. He did this even though the property wasn't his anymore. So while Keith was out of town in Florida, the Ghost Adventures cast and crew broke into the house and shot the episode. The way Keith pieced it together was by how the house looked on the show. Remember when I said Chris installed mirrors and poles throughout the house?
Yeah, it looked like a bordello.
Keith wanted those removed. He gutted the house, he stripped it down to its studs, and that's how the house looked on TV, like it was under construction. The house is so under construction, there's a stray toilet sitting in the driveway. Zach stands next to it for several minutes in the show's opening scene. When Nico moved in 4 years earlier, he did his own renovation, and part of that work was tearing down a wall in the secret room and turning it into a bar. So when you were done with the renovation, there was no more secret room?
A big chunk of it was now part of the bar.
Nico sold the house to Chris, and it's Chris who says he found the blood and the guns. So I asked Nico if he found anything suspicious while he was there.
I lived in that house a long time. I was there. I went through the house. I never saw anything. I thought it was just a cool house.
Well, Chris said on camera that he found blood caked behind the sink and guns in the floorboards.
Oh, Chris did? Well, God, that's Chris. I didn't see it.
Okay, so just to recap here, Jeff built the room to grow the pot in. Nico bought the house and renovated the room. When Nico sold the house to Chris, the room wasn't even a secret. It was a bar. And if Chris found blood or guns there, then someone put all of it there while he was living in the house. And honestly, I can't find anything to say that's what happened. According to Nico, Chris and his girlfriend just wanted to be on TV.
It kind of made them famous. Chris, when that happened, he was lighting up my phone saying, man, I'm getting offers from everywhere. People want to know about this. He goes, people love this. And he was trying to develop things around it, and he wanted to do more with it. He really sort of lavished the limelight it brought to him.
I needed to check out one more thing. The shower. Chris's girlfriend Heather said it was haunted. She told Zach that she couldn't take showers at La Palazzo without hearing the voices of boy ghosts. They were talking to her through the vents, saying provocative things to her about her body.
Right here is where you would hear.
Yeah, I just be in the shower and it just would talk about me while I was showering. I tried to shower as fast as I could so I didn't have to hear it.
Yeah.
These voices made me mad. I started going like crazy late at night.
This is one of the only times in the Ghost Adventures episode when someone says there's an actual ghost in an actual room. So at this point, I just needed to check the house out for myself. I went to Nevada.
Hi, Scott, this is Lena. Hi, I'm outside.
From the outside, La Palazza is a lovely stucco home at the end of a shady street in the desert. From the driveway, you can see the famous stratosphere, that pale imitation of a Seattle icon marking the end of the Vegas Strip. Scott Carlson lives at La Palazza now. He's an accountant.
Squad, the suspect is down.
Scott says he spent the 10 days leading up to the purchase running around trying to prove to himself that there actually wasn't anything wrong with the house. See, when he put his offer on the house, he hadn't heard the haunted story. He didn't know about it until the last minute, till he was in escrow, when he had already handed over the money and just needed to sign the paperwork. And for the most part, he doesn't see anything wrong with the house. He signed the papers and he loves it there. I could tell from the moment he let me in how proud he is to own the home.
This furniture is going to go in there, and this is going to be remodeled, and that furniture there.
The thing that's striking about La Palazza is that it always seems to be under construction. Like, there's something about it that compels owner after owner after owner to tear the insides out and start over.
Do you want me to take off my shoes?
No, absolutely not. Okay. I mean, whatever you're comfortable. You can if you want to be comfortable.
Scott says there's still aftermath to that TV episode of Ghost Adventures.
Last night, 2 housewives and their kids drove by, and they said they came here to see the haunted house.
Scott doesn't let tourists in, but he knows them when he sees them. They'll stop in front of his house for an inordinate amount of time and just stare. He says he still sees the occasional update on the La Palazza Facebook page for the house, where people post the photographs they've taken of themselves in front of the gate. Visitors claim their phones stop working as soon as they get close to the house. They say the air is cold and that the batteries in their electronic equipment immediately drain. Well, I use my phone twice at Scott's house. Once to call him and say that I'm outside, and once again to text message a friend. No problems there. And I'll say that I'm sweating in this 90-degree heat, just as much on the property as I am off of it. Finally, as for the batteries, they last for as long as I'm there. 3 hours.
Did you watch the program?
Yeah.
So you heard about the story about the shower, and he used to make comments about her body in the shower?
Scott's game to let me use his bathroom to see if I can invoke a ghost. The bathroom isn't under construction. It's pristine, actually. Like, instead of Scott's house, I'm at a hotel.
Do you mind if I turn on the water? Is that going to bother you?
No, absolutely. You can do it. There's even towels. Those are clean. There you go.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
There are stacks of towels, gold fixtures, 2 doors, each leading to either end of the house. Scott leaves me alone. I lock the doors and I stand there, not really knowing what I'm doing.
How do you summon a ghost? Do you tell it you don't believe in it?
Chris's girlfriend Heather says La Palazza's ghosts only made comments about her body when she was in the shower. So I take off my clothes and I climb in. For a moment, I leave the water off.
So I'm standing in the shower, and I guess I'm just waiting to see if I'm going to provoke a spirit. Hello, spirit.
Nothing happens, so I turn on the water just to see if that changes anything. When Heather described taking showers on the show, she talked about the voices of men coming out when she wasn't expecting it. It sounded like something sinister, like jellyfish at the beach poking her with venom.
Still nothing. This is so weird.
For 15 minutes, I stand there. At one point, I think I hear voices, but when I turn the shower off, it's just Scott talking to his construction guy in the next room. I think I hear a deep rumble, but it turns out just to be the drain. I'm standing naked in a stranger's bathroom, trying to find a ghost I don't believe in.
Maybe this is what it feels like when enough people tell you that maybe a place is haunted. This might just be what it feels like.
As for Keith Resnick, after deciding to see Ghost Adventures and the Travel Channel, he hired Randall Bell. He's a distressed property appraiser we talked about in episode 2. It was Randall's job to assess the damage the TV show had done to the home's value. Randall quickly realized that this case was unlike anything he'd ever worked on. Usually there's a specific event that stigmatizes a property, like a murder or suicide. But La Palazza was different. La Palazza was stigmatized by a rumor.
He said, not only was the value of the house destroyed, but since people say, like the Travel Channel, that the ghosts inhabit the land itself, that the land is actually devalued as well. So he said the whole thing was a loss.
Which means what? That you cannot sell it in this state?
Well, you'd get rid of the house and all of the association with the house, and then hypothetically you could build a home that had zero resemblance to what I'll call the ghost house. So that might remove a little bit of the taint. But because the spirits can stay with the land itself, it doesn't remove the problem entirely. And as a practical matter, since this show lives on the internet for eternity, the nuisance value will live for eternity. Meaning people will break in because they'll be curious about what they saw on television.
The Travel Channel and Keith settled out of court. The episode was pulled off the air. 911. And despite Randall's report that the home's value was destroyed, Keith sold it after a month for about $300,000, a loss of just under $40,000. And though he couldn't tell me how much, Keith got money from the Travel Channel too. He said it was enough for him to feel comfortable. Do you ever drive by the house?
I don't.
Have you gone back?
I haven't.
Why?
It's in the past.
To believe in ghosts, you need a reason. You have to be looking for something.